All right, welcome everyone. We are Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Bunny Girl Senpai, Season 1, Episode 13.
The season finale.
Season finale, yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
All
this
right.
is the last bit of content from this series that I have seen. And it will be interesting.
And Kaida's got her memories back, which
means
good,
that the
but
other
it's bad
memories are
because
gone.
it's good, and it's not because we spent a bunch of time with her, and now we have to figure out where do we go from here.
Have fun with that, Sakuta.
Good luck, buddy. This is
Yeah.
going to be...
Is there a happy ending to this?
It's going to be
Who
rough.
knows?
No, there's definitely a happy ending that comes from this. It's that the family basically is able to build back up together again. That's
What did it cost?
go. Not everything. There's so much gained along the way.
Yeah, just, a couple years of time I spent with my sister.
Sakurajima Mai! Like... Y'all, without further ado, let's just jump right into this. Alright everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. If this was all we got, I would be very satisfied.
Yeah.
This is a good season finale.
It
like a
really
really
is.
good one. Because it gives the nice, quiet, slow time that's needed for Sakuta.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
a lot of the Kaeda focus is wrapped up in his story, like you were saying.
Yep.
But a lot of what actually needed to be got into is how he accepts his feelings regarding the whole thing and actually processes them.
Right, exactly.
He needs to do it with someone else. That is the whole point of Sakurajima Mai being introduced in the story, is that he's not going to be in this alone from here on out. Now, he can't take her for granted,
Totally.
because it takes work to build a relationship and actually maintain it and grow it and all of that. So he comes dangerously close to potentially losing things there because of a moment of weakness on both of their parts.
Right.
It just happened to be synchronized at the right time.
Exactly.
So,
And
or
any
in the,
kind
the
of-
worst time so that it ended up like this.
Right. And in any kind of relationship, there will eventually, just law of large numbers, come a point where something like that happens, where your strengths and weaknesses don't cover for each other, and all of a sudden, you both come up weakness at the same time.
Yep. Exactly.
There you go.
Here we are, but they both were able to realize and admit their weakness, their vulnerabilities at the moment when it mattered, when they came back together.
Exactly.
Which doesn't always happen.
No.
So it's really, really fortunate that things went this way.
And that's one of the reasons why they make a good couple together, because they're willing to do that kind of stuff. It's the she goes to meet him even when it's her birthday and things like that to try and cheer him up. When he realizes that he accidentally hurt her.
Well, that was the day before her birthday. She went over to see him a different day.
No, she went to see him on her birthday.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah. And then she was planning to go back early the next morning, but she didn't because the thing happened, and then she just went back almost immediately. And then
the 27th is when she called. The 28th is the day where he's basically like talking about this whole thing there that she comes over on. Right? Yeah. That's this day here. Then I believe we time skip.
Yeah, it goes a couple days.
Yeah. So this day is her birthday.
Right.
December 2nd.
Right.
So it wasn't her birthday when she came over. Am I mistaking something?
No,
here?
it wasn't this because the thing is that when he goes to where she's at, it's like late at night, but it's still technically her birthday, right?
Oh, but see, they time skip to here. No, no. It was a few days afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. That's right. It would have been okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, the bit of them actually getting to have their reconciliation after he rushes over to her, has his dramatic display of his love, very akin to the earlier parts of the show. And it's a very kind of public way, at the very least, with her crew and manager. And she's like, okay, go spend 15 minutes on your date and make sure he cheers you up. And she's like, hey. And he's like, wait, why are you grinning?
right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really wholesome, just sweet way to end it. But the rest of the episode, the meat of this episode, was Sakuta's feelings regarding what he lost here by Kaida being... well, dying, really. The last 2 years of Kaida, that's gone.
Right, because it doesn't end with some happy, like fusion of the two or anything like that. Nope. That's not how it goes.
Yeah.
That's not how it goes.
The happy side of this is that Kaida is back, in that she won't have the trauma of all that stuff that happened during that. So
well, and
she gets to have new life, basically.
Right, exactly. It's a fresh start, and she has the journal so she can look back on and still get something from that time that was had. It's not completely gone, even though a lot of it is.
Yeah.
And also, just as a fun little meta thing, the fact that it's like, hey, yeah, this character that we introduced at the very beginning of the show, that's like overly the little sister trope, you know? And it's like, oh, you know, are you excited thinking about me? Oh, who would get excited thinking about their little sister? Then at the end of the show, they kill off that side of the character, and now it's just more regular sister type character.
Right, but they also, before they did that, gave an explanation as to why she was so devoted.
Totally. They went through plenty of reasonings for that and everything, to the point that we really, if we didn't already, you know, from the first, you know, half of the show, love Kaida as a character the way she was, then we definitely would by this point, and then, but now she is, that part of her is gone. Right. You know, and that is a ballsy decision. That is a I gotta say, I applaud the show or the creator of the story for having the guts to actually go through with that and hold to that, because I would totally expect in this situation for them to be some kind of like combination of both, happy ending, you know, there you go, right?
Yeah, but nope. This is a plot device in Amnesia that is one that can create, I would say, false stakes, basically. Oh, sure. Where you just kind of conjure them up out of nothing, because there was no buildup necessarily for the Amnesia. But the way this was slowly handled, the way that it was, you know, removed really as well, also was slowly built up to as well. And combining this with Sakuta's journey is a really cool way to give us as the audience a great set of perspectives on this. Not only with Kaida, who's the one experiencing it directly, but Sakuta, who's then having to just keep going in the midst of this pain, because
he has no idea how to really, but he has to.
He has no way of knowing how to. But the voice acting that they gave, the voice acting was so good in those moments. You could feel like the out of breath aspect of him when he was just in pain throughout all of this.
The part where he breaks down, he can't handle the whole situation of, you know, okay, the dad's all happy, this is great.
Yeah.
And then he just starts screaming and runs out of the hospital, right?
Yeah.
And then that shot where we see him in the rain, going away from the hospital on the sidewalk and everything, and he is just crushed.
Yeah. I love that Shoko is brought up here, because this is a very smart, like, expeditious, like, efficient way to bring up his problem, which was Shoko wasn't real. Like I really don't think that the story necessarily needs to define what are all the parameters as to her being
what
a part of his puberty syndrome.
What are the exact reasons for the mechanics of the puberty syndrome and how it worked and whatnot? But yeah. It wasn't just the Scar Sakuta.
However, the fact that she might be a real person, you know, that exists somewhere, very possible. Very possible.
Sure.
Who knows? If the movie wants to go into some stuff with that, that would be very cool. But I loved the idea that it was hey, there were a couple instances of her, you know, kind of appearance and also the way it was shot, a couple things with the fact that it was always at the beach and she was always there.
Yeah, the way she was always there specifically when he needed her.
When he needed her, exactly.
Yeah, when he wanted her to be there.
Yeah.
No one is...
I was just going to say, no one else ever saw her.
Right, no one else ever saw her, and no one is ever what you perfectly desire. Even Mai, who is awesome, right? And Sakuta's like, oh my god, I'm so lucky to have you, and all that stuff, and this relationship we have is amazing. There are times where, no, because they're an actual person, she doesn't do what you want necessarily, right? You know, she doesn't kiss you when you close your eyes, right? She pinches your cheek, right?
Right.
And in some ways she's doing that because she knows that that's kind of the part about her that you really like, you know?
Right. Yeah.
But it's not that... there's an aspect of Makinahara Shoko that almost feels like a reflection in a mirror.
Oh yeah, she's absolutely a projection of himself.
Yeah. And it's just all right, I'm what you need right now.
Yeah. And also, let's get things a little bit medical here a little bit, because I'm not a professional in this regard, but I know that sometimes this can be related, is that his sister had a dissociative disorder.
Oh,
And there's a very real possibility that this is just a milder form of that was in reaction to the trauma of the act that happened with his sister. Yeah.
Yep.
And thus, his is based around regret, which is a very, very powerful emotion, or not only emotion, but something with regards to how to take a collection of aspects about the character and boil them down into something rather simple that kind of just covers the umbrella of all of it. Is that Sakuta's character was based around regret up until now. So the point where Shoko came up to him
very true.
was that, well, in the future, you will then be that person that will help all those people, right?
As a way to deal with your regrets.
Exactly.
And that's what he did. All the times that he helped people, it was because he didn't want to be that person again who couldn't help someone near him. Yeah.
And that's the part that's really, really just wonderful about this, is all these other characters were build up to the Kaeda arc, basically. They were opportunities for him to grow and maybe come to terms with the fact that he doesn't need to be the one to help them.
Sure.
All he needs to do is just be there for them.
Right.
And that was the lesson with Kaeda, is that the girl that he spent 2 years with, his little sister during that time, she would have been happy just being with him. She didn't need him to solve all her problems.
Right. And in the end, hey, wouldn't you know it? By him doing that and just being there, in a wonderfully painful and twisted way, because he so believed that he couldn't do anything, he ended up doing the one thing that he really needed to do, which was be there for her, which then equipped her and gave her the chance to find the strength, not just for her own interest, but on behalf of her brother, right? Because she loved him and cared about him and all that stuff, and she could see how her own pain hurt him.
Right.
Then she actually found it within herself to face the thing that she couldn't face before.
Yeah.
Right? And her problem ended up getting resolved.
It did.
Which is, you can't solve other people's problems for them, right? People have to save themselves, right? But that helping hand is crucial. And that's what you were able to be.
Right. Most people need someone else in their life.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, most people prefer to not go through things alone.
And
I would want to go through things with another person.
Right. And I would even say that everyone does, just to different degrees, right? It's the question of when do they actually...
Do they need you?
Do they need you?
Exactly.
And the person that they need, is it, once every 6 months, or is it, every week,
Yeah. I really love how the show kind of broke down the idea of relationships being something that is made in the present. And yet there are times when we as people take a thing from our past and define ourselves by it.
Sure.
So a lot of the characters in this story really all dealing with past trauma, hurt that
Yeah.
has persisted through time, thus becoming a part of their past,
Leaving scars.
leaving
if you
scars. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the main character is walking around with a gigantic claw mark, like bear-sized, across his chest.
Yep.
It is a gigantic beacon to the world saying, "I need help." But wait. No. See, they're scars, and no one can really help them because they're just kind of over and done, and it's in the past.
will. Right. You can't heal scars, you know?
But another thing, though, while you can't heal the scars, they do diminish slightly.
What do? Do they fade? Do scars fade? Yeah.
Yeah.
Kung Fu Panda
Wounds
2.
heal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And yet his actually just reopen and rebleed every once in a while.
Yeah. And that's the. I
That
don't
was
know
kind
if
of the hint to us. That,
right.
And it was done pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
Foreshadowing-wise, yeah.
And it's one of those things where I don't know if I'm reading into this too much for the show, right? But a lot of the circumstances and the events that happen in this show come about with varying degrees of how should I say, demanding of your attention.
Oh,
right?
okay, sure.
With the supernatural aspects.
Yeah.
In Mai's case, no one could observe her. How is she going to sustain herself, right? Eventually, like that, all sorts of bad stuff would happen, right?
Her whole character was based around attention.
Right,
and
exactly.
observation, really.
But she didn't really have a choice about finding some way to deal with it, right?
No.
Because if that doesn't get fixed, you're screwed, right?
Yep.
And then in Koga's case, time loop. You literally have to fix that, or like, and granted, she was the one who
She instigated it, though.
she instigated it and she wanted it to keep happening and things like that. But it was again a literal thing of, if this does not get fixed, you will not move forward. You cannot, right? Like there is so something has to be done.
Right.
Same thing with
Futaba?
with Futaba, and then not quite the same thing though with Kaida. In Kaida's situation, and Sakata's, not, I almost said Sukata. In Sakata's situation, it's something where they were able to figure out a semi-equilibrium so that they could go about their daily life, even though the thing hadn't actually been resolved.
Sure.
And in a similar fashion that the puberty syndrome deal with Kaida was like the most realistic, you know, of all of them. Like theoretically, that could just happen with basic like medical, you know, human mental health and all that stuff, right? Like that.
There's nothing really phenomenal about it.
Right. While it's rare, that stuff does happen, right?
Yeah.
I feel like there's a connection that could be made of, this is how most stories go. You don't actually get the time loop that then must be broken, or the doppelganger that must be laid to rest, or making it so that people can see you again. Sometimes it's just shit happens, and then you kind of live with it.
You just kind of find a way to make find convenience, if you will, through
exactly.
it all. Yeah.
But that's not actually dealing with it. And so when Sakata then has to deal with it here, when Kaida has to deal with it, they deal with it, but it doesn't have that happy, you know, bow on top ending, right? It's not, it doesn't come full circle and now we're back to the same status quo that we were before. No, things are very much different.
Scars
very
are
much
left.
different. Scars are left. As in the same way that the dealing with the immediate pain of the situation back when it happened, when it started, was slow. The recovering from the solution to this situation, from the fix to the problem, is also going to be slow.
Right.
Sakata still has to get to know Kaida all over again.
Yeah.
Kaida has to get to know herself all over again. She has to get to know her brother all over again, right? Their whole family has to figure out how to fix things, and that is going to take a lot of time.
Yep.
Right?
True.
But that's how these things go,
That's
right?
life.
Yeah, that's life.
Yeah, I really do like the idea of all the problems being ones that demanded the attention. I do think that on some level, it's better to focus on it that way than it is to focus on it as the where the problem came from, because I still think that Koga's doesn't hold up as well on the long-term side of things, because hers was chosen kind of a little bit more.
Sure.
That all being said, you could argue that her feelings for him weren't something that she chose. Those came up along the way. So,
Yeah.
Anyways, the bit, though, of them being observed or not, or demanding attention, Futaba's kind of character was based almost entirely for the plot as we need someone who talks about this in the phenomena lingo.
Yes,
lingo.
right.
But she did often bring up the idea of whether or not the problem is being observed or is observable. And then he brings it up at the end.
Yeah, no more of that observation crap.
Yeah, none of that. But one of the things that Sakuta was forced to do because of this situation was his feelings surrounding the matter could not be hidden anymore.
He had to observe them.
He had to observe them. Now,
Nice.
one of the things that happened here in order to do that was basically the same instance from before happened all over again. He lost his sister.
Right.
Now, because it happened almost the exact same way, all over again, with no definite knowledge as to whether she would come back.
Yep.
In the previous case, it was that she was reverted back to a child, with no knowledge of anything before that. In this case, it's actually a little bit easier and harder because it's that, only a couple years was lost.
Right.
So she still has a personality.
You got back the thing that you always wanted for her, right?
Right. But you lost everything that you struggled through in order to get here.
Right.
So it feels like a gigantic slap in the face from the universe of all that effort and energy and emotion that you put into it didn't end up meaning anything.
Right.
So it all has to come dredged back up, and he just breaks.
Gotta gripe, wrestle with it, yeah.
And it breaks to the point that I wanted to bring this up. Shoko showed up in his own house with no explanation. It was so...
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, sorry. She didn't show up at the house.
She showed up at the sidewalk.
At the hospital.
Yeah.
Right. With an
outside the
umbrella and
hospital.
everything.
But yeah.
Which was basically okay, you don't have to come to the beach. I'm coming to you.
Right. There's no reason for me to have actually found you here.
None at all.
We weren't in contact or anything like that. It's not like you told me about Kaida's situation, but all of a sudden I'm here and then we're back at your house.
Right.
Your apartment.
And what I felt like that was that this was the extremity of the situation for him. Was that he did not have the energy to actually seek out help.
Right.
He needed to have the part of him that had been sequestered away be just born forth immediately. All defenses go.
Projectile vomiting almost the emotions and hence why she was there, but then also why he wasn't able to call Mai because he's not in that state. And then that of course hurts her because then she's like, I wanted to be there for you.
So then essentially he gets to have all the memories that he had of that time with Kaida played back for him through her reading the journal for him.
The scars are allowed to bleed.
Right, exactly. He has to face the fact that all that did happen. That loss also did happen. Those feelings, all that time, that was real. You need to experience it. Let it happen. He cries. He just wails into the bathtub. And he sleeps on it. But that doesn't solve everything. The immediate acceptance and observation of the problem is the first step.
Right. And the rest of the steps are what we're going to see moving forward. And that's it feels very similar to kind of the situation of how Mai's arc with her sister was resolved with Nodoka.
Sure.
No, it is Nodoka.
Nodoka,
right? Yeah. Because it's the supernatural issue is resolved. And that is and it was resolved in parallel with a milestone in our relationship. We have come to a better understanding. But it does not erase the past, and as such, we are now going to continue along this path, and that is going to happen, but we don't necessarily need to see that in detail, right? Because
we'll take it one day at a time.
The main conflict has been resolved, and we can assume that continues, right? Yeah. With no issues since it's not being focused on.
Right.
And that's kind of what we get as the resolution for this, is that
for sure
he figures it out. He figures things out with Mai and how their dynamic works amidst crazy conflicts like this, and how he's going to interact with his sister moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to square one.
But it feels so mature of a show sometimes. I don't know how to describe it, but there's this aspect about the show that feels like it's trying to use an immature, that's a bad way to describe it, but I'm trying to use the thing of the meta of the fact that the show is called Bunny Girl Senpai, or Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai.
Sure.
And it's actually more like
And puberty syndrome and
Rascal
all that.
learns to handle the regrets of his life
Yeah.
through the misadventures of supernatural elements with high school girls.
Yeah,
Like,
Rascal and a bunch of other anime characters learn about emotional and mental health. You know, like
yeah. It's something that is not sexy on the immediate kind of marketability bit.
Right.
And yet this show somehow used our kind of horny teenagerness in some ways like
sucker
Sakuta
people in.
to sucker us in with the idea of, hey,
Bunny Girl.
bunny girl. But actually,
we'll
dealing
have-
with emotional trauma over
Right.
the course of your family's,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we'll make sure that she's in the Bunny Girl outfit in the OP at least, since we only see the Bunny Girl outfit like twice over the course of the show, and that's all in the very beginning.
Right.
And one of the times I don't think she's even wearing it; it's just in the bag.
Yeah.
But or no, she does wear it a second time.
She does wear it a second
specifically for Sakuta. But
specifically for her.
yeah, okay, so 3 times total. But
She would have worn it a third time too if he had asked her in this finale.
yes,
Yes. But I love on the meta level that a story that is dealing with something that is so mature, I would say, uses basically the slow burn aspect of all these other little fantastical narratives to eventually come to the point where the main character has to accept their own feelings.
Yeah.
And it's a very simple premise for how it ends, in that main character has regrets and has to accept them and
Right,
move
exactly.
on with his life.
main character comes to realization. There you go.
Right,
You know,
that's-
that's a 1-sentence story. potentially.
Self-actualization. There's some
Right.
really cool stuff you can go with that.
But simplicity is powerful.
But simplicity is powerful. So I just love that this is where the show has built up to. But now we get a movie?
Now we get a movie, and I'm
like, wait a minute.
I am-
So his
Yeah.
struggle isn't over,
right.
but is the movie going to just introduce a new character?
Well, I think
and
it's
have them have an issue? Or
I
is
think
it going
it's
to
gonna be
Shoko?
Makinahara Shoko
with Sakuta and then Mai and then
and
just
Kaida also.
maybe
like,
maybe this is going to be like an Avengers Assemble moment where Sakuta brings
I feel like
everyone and they all go to the beach and they expel. No, it's not going to be like
no.
some kind of exorcist thing, but it's going to be like we accept you, maybe.
right.
Or,
It is one of those things where
I accept myself.
like because when I heard about the movie, right?
Yeah.
And like one of the things that I heard about it, it's not about the movie, but like with how they did it, is that when they aired it at the Anime Convention, Anime Expo, I think it was.
Okay.
They specifically made the amount of people that they let into the viewing much less than the room could actually allow, like occupancy wise, because they wanted it to have a very intimate feel. A lot of people were pissed about that, but apparently it was also a very good emotional, thing. Like I've heard high praise about this movie, so I'm excited to get into it. But that kind of gave me the sense that it's like, oh, is this going to be like the revisit, the coming full circle of like, let's go back to Mai and Sakuta's situation and have some really sweet, awesome story there. But then now that I've now rewatched the show, it's like maybe it is going to deal with Shoko. But at the same time, if you're dealing with Shoko, since that's so close to Sakuta,
Right.
Mai has to be along for the ride for that.
Well, of course Mai has to be involved.
Like she has to be. That.
I mean, the reason why this show goes from being just a good show about mental health
to
a great show with all the other parts is just Mai and Sakuta interacting.
Yeah, exactly.
That is like half the show's charm right there. It's not saying that the show has little amounts of charm.
Yeah,
I'm saying that.
Don't think that's knocking the show.
No,
this show
that's how
owns that.
great
Yeah.
the interactions are between our two main characters in that regard. So, yeah, I'm really excited to watch a full feature-length movie.
Me too.
With these characters, now that so many of them have gone through these journeys to where they're all kind of friends, even if it's kind of through
nobody really
primarily
talks to Koga,
Oh yeah. I mean, Koga's a coworker, just basically.
Exactly.
But I like the idea that there could be a story that's worth having the cast all involved.
And I am so excited for movie budget for emotional character moments and animation and all that stuff.
Oh sure. I mean, this show has great animation.
Oh yeah. No, totally. It has great animation, but than taking that to movie budget.
I know. That'll be pretty sweet. Just little bit here that I think is just a little extra thing that's just so fun. Nodoka as a character was introduced later.
Yes.
In the series. So we have in some ways, less attachment to her than we do for someone like Futaba or, of course, Mai.
Right. Especially since we only got 2 episodes for her arc.
Yeah. But I meant just the fact that we spent just less time with her in the story in general as well. So Kaeda, Mai, they're kind of bigger characters in my mind. But the fact that in this moment where Sakuta is in a really kind of scary just spot in general... Yeah. She's like, hey, what's the deal? Like, hey, come on.
Game plan,
come on.
action time.
Let's do this. I'll help you. I'm your ally. What are we going to do here? Because it's such a simple thing, but it's just the idea that this fits with her motivations because she has seen how much just this boy here has helped her sister. Of course she's going to be on his side.
She's literally walked a mile in her sister's shoes.
Right. There are so many times in stories when, and this is something I would never just guess that this show would do, but I just thought about it in I'm really glad that this show is, I would say, a little bit more mature in that regard, is there's so many times where the friend or the sister, the family member, the whatever of the two characters that are having some bit of drama in their relationship comes along and just is not helpful, just for the sake of adding drama.
Yeah, because they also have a tiff with the person or...
No, for literally zero reason other than drama is spicy. So we're going to have the character just say that stuff even though it doesn't make sense for their character. But for Nodoka here, the most spicy thing she says is just like, you missed her birthday. Like, how do you not know that?
Yeah, exactly. December 2nd, it's right here. Public information.
Right, yes. Like, her stands know that.
Yeah, exactly. There are 50,000 stands out there that know this information.
They all, like, spammed her Twitter or whatever.
Right.
She's trending now because it's her birthday. Like, how the hell do you not know this? Yeah. That was the most... dramatic it got.
Well, and even then, it adds to the drama of what's going on, but it's actually helping resolve the drama because it's saying, I am helping you understand why it's dramatic for this other person.
Yeah,
so I'm giving you insight and a tool of how you can potentially fix this.
Right.
Because it's still her birthday for another couple hours.
Yeah, there were 2 big hints about this in that her... Nodoka and the manager basically gave him like a little bit of a hint of like, she's not doing that well right now. So you need to go and like be a great boyfriend and help her out here. Yeah. So I love that. But also it just comes back full circle to I loved the scene with them and sharing the coat together. I loved the little bits of interaction they had there. I really, really love them as a boyfriend girlfriend in an anime where in a world of anime where most boyfriends, girlfriends are just characters in a relationship, characters in love, characters who haven't confessed or whatever, sometimes the chemistry just isn't there.
Sometimes the chemistry isn't there, and a lot of the times we don't even get to the official boyfriend-girlfriend status, and when it does, the show ends. So the fact that we get that in general is awesome. The fact that it's wonderful is like...
I just love their chemistry so much. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble thinking of more than maybe 5 other relationships in anime where I'm like, I like their chemistry on par or more than this couple here.
I will tell you, so when I watched this show for the first time, that was before watching Monogatari, so I wasn't as used to the idea of, we're going to go do arc-based stuff for characters that have supernatural issues and things like that.
Sure.
And I was so salty. When we got to Koga's arc, and I'm like, okay, I like the nod to Endless 8 with the time loop and everything, but damn it, I don't want to share screen time. Their dynamic was so good. Don't you take this away from me?
Yeah.
But the show knows what it's doing.
Yeah, and for the final arc, where every arc has kind of done this, except for the one with Nodoka, really. Well, Nodoka actually did it as well, because if the body switched, they had to actually switch positions at times.
Yep.
Every problem that he was compelled to deal with took him a little bit away from Mai. And this is something that I felt was rather formulaic in a kind of a pointed way of saying like, hey, buddy, if you're gonna do this, if you're gonna live your life kind of with that like, I must do this, it felt kind of Shiro from Fate to me.
Oh, okay,
of like,
yeah.
I have to be the hero here.
Right. So then, what's the story behind it? You know, yeah.
Well, right. We had a little bit of an idea of that, but that even in this final one, where it's regarding himself, the one he's, well, in some ways, compelled to save himself by via Shoko. If you want to go the route that Shoko is a projection of himself.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even ask for help.
Nope.
He rathered have himself be saved by this fairy tale projection, perfect girl image than his pretty dang near amazing perfect girlfriend who would absolutely be there for you at the drop of a pin if he asked.
Yeah, she literally, you know, like came over late after work just because, you know, she just didn't realize that it was like
the phone,
a day late, you know.
Yeah. But fantastic show. Can't wait for the movie. And once we do the movie, we'll have to have a replacement for this. That'll be cool.
We will indeed. That'll be fun.
Yeah, y'all. Thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the movie's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there. And all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.